And a roll call?
Member Denton,
Present.
Member Cook,
Here.
Member Allen,
Here.
and Member Tigert.
Here.
Please let the record show that Karen Laz is absent this evening.
And all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would somebody like to make a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll move.
In a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion to adopt the agenda was passed. Approval of the minutes from the December 13th meeting. Did anybody review them? Have any comments, changes?
Look good.
Looked good? Okay. Motion to approve the minutes.
I'll move.
And a second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. There's some people in the audience, so do we have any comments from the public for items not on the agenda? Okay, not seeing any. We will move on to the first public hearing, 17-1053. Mikhail?
And yeah, I actually have a conflict due to where I live, so I need to recuse myself from this hearing.
Okay, we'll see you in a bit.
Good evening. Tonight you have before you a master sign plan amendment for Washington Square. And Washington Square is home to 5 buildings with 6 different businesses, and there are several signs already on property. Under tonight's proposal, the applicant proposes to add 2 signs. One is an approximately 10 square foot sign that would be placed on the south of the building, very similar to the Bovine sign that exists already. And this sign would count toward the master sign plan allotment. The other sign is an approximately 2.3 square foot sign, and it faces the courtyard, so it would be exempt from the master sign plan requirements. And master sign plan properties calculate the amount of allowed sign area based on the amount of lineal building frontage, and building frontage is the area or the elevation of the building that fronts onto a public street. So in this case, it counts both Madison and Washington, and this property is entitled a total allotment of approximately 165 square feet, which is considered very large in terms of sign plan properties. Under tonight's application, it would bring that total up to approximately 73 square feet, leaving just over 91 square feet for the other businesses, and that could include 1 or more monument signs that identifies the complex and the businesses themselves, and also signage for any of the businesses that aren't currently signed, one of which is hunter-gatherer. And so the signs are consistent with the total area that is permitted. The design is a black sign with the, oh, thank you. Let's look at, this is the location of the sign that would be facing the parking lot, and which is counted toward the plan. And here is a sign specification. It totals 10 square feet, and it's hung from the trellis that's over the building entrance. This shows the location of the other proposed sign, and this one would be exempt. It's the same sign copy and construction, and it's the smaller of the 2 signs. And so the black background that is used is consistent with the adjoining business, Bovine, and is generally consistent with other signs on the property, although since it is a master sign plan property, they all have a different look and feel. There's no consistency amongst all signs. So we have identified in the staff report that we believe that the signs meet the requirements for the findings for master sign plan, and we're recommending approval.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions of staff? Barbara?
No. I guess this is a new business. I'm sorry. I guess this is a new business for the sign.
It's a newer business, but it's been at the center for
Okay.
perhaps a year or 2.
Okay. but there is no sign on that wall. It's facing the courtyard.
Correct.
Yeah.
Another question was, any signs that face internally within the gallery don't count towards the overall? It's
That's
only
correct, right.
Frontage.
Right. Only those visible from the right-of-way. And in this case, we've interpreted the driveway as being visible from Washington Street, so those signs count, even though they're not directly fronting onto Washington or Madison. They're not like the courtyard signs that you truly can't see from the right-of-way.
Couple questions. A year or two ago, we approved some awnings with signage for Kelly's that never got installed.
Correct.
Did those count towards their signage?
Those counted at one point, but the design review period expired, and so they've been removed from
Okay.
their sign allotment.
Okay.
We understand that they will probably be coming back with another amendment that's more comprehensive in nature that addresses.
Okay, but they're still way under their
business.
overall footage.
Yes, yes.
And the signs that are in the windows of hunter-gatherer don't count towards signage?
Not under the current sign plan, which speaks to wall-mounted signs or monument signs. As we move toward an amendment of the sign ordinance, I think that's something we want to look at. In this case, they are large, although they're not visible in the same way that a more typical sign is.
I mean, they do the same job. They get
They do
the
the
point
same
across,
job. They do the same job.
and they should, in the long run, count. Okay. Okay. There's nobody here from Arena,
No, we
Okay.
do not have the applicant
so
present.
we do not have any questions of the applicant. Anybody have any objections? Somebody want to make a motion?
I motion we approve as presented by the staff.
I'll second that. And a vote? All in favor? Anyone
Okay.
opposed? No. It's a well-designed sign that matches
Yeah.
the one next door. It all
Right.
makes perfect sense to me.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, I'll probably just sit down.
Probably just got the TV turned on.
That was fast. Okay, we move on to 17-1100, design review for an addition to the rear of a single-family residence, of which I will have to recuse myself due to proximity of owned property. So I will put Mikhail in charge of the meeting.
Awesome.
Perfect. All right, before you tonight is the design review for a 180 square foot addition to the rear of a single family residence and a new 240 square foot detached garage structure. In this picture right here, you can see the existing home at the end of Yon Street. The existing residence is 1,326 square feet with 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. The home features beige stucco siding, sliding divided light windows, and an existing rear patio of 45 feet, seen at the top of the screen here on this slide. The rear yard also features a large protected oak tree. The home is set back 18 feet from the front property line and shares a 16-foot access easement with 6913 Yon Street at the rear of the property. The applicant is proposing to remove a portion of the rear patio in order to construct a 180 square foot master bedroom addition with roof pitch designed to match existing. Design setbacks are consistent with the existing 5-foot setback and 15-foot rear setback. The structure will be 12 feet wide by 15 feet long with a roof height of 13 feet 8 inches. This proposed addition actually sits lower than the roof peak of the primary existing residence, so it won't be visible from Yon Street. It's hidden behind. Adjoined to this proposed addition is a deck, constructed primarily of wood. Both the addition and the deck are located within the drip line of an existing protected oak tree. The applicant has supplied a geotechnical report as well as an arborist report laying out 7 recommendations in order to protect the oak tree. This report encourages a pier and beam foundation, recommends that the existing patio material be all removed by hand, that 3 to 4 inches of wood chips of mulch be put down to reduce compaction, and it also encourages a barrier fence to be installed at the north end of the tree. At the rear of the property, the applicant plans to construct a 248 square foot one-car garage addition, which is consistent with the existing 5-foot setback and rear setback. In this slide, it's being proposed directly to the right of that black chimney. The garage is 11 feet 9 inches tall and will rest on a concrete slab, be roofed with 40-year composite shingles, and be designed to match the existing residence with stucco siding. The overhead garage door will be 8 feet wide, with a window facing east and a door constructed with tempered glass facing south. A sliding vinyl window will also be installed in the direction of the rear yard, which is the southern elevation. The new one-car garage will be accessed by the shared easement, and the new driveway parking pads will be gravel to match the existing. This parking area will be screened with drought-resistant planting. In order for the in the interior, the applicant is proposing a complete remodel, including the living room, foyer, bathrooms, laundry room, and kitchen. Selected sliding windows will also be replaced with vinyl windows. To address any flooding concerns and drainage concerns at the front of the property, a new bioswale is proposed for the front yard, as well as new electrical services which will be trenched underground. In all, the project is consistent with the zoning and design review ordinance standards, though it does contain some topics worth addressing. The project is located in the Old Town zoning district where there are specific design guidelines. Staff concludes the project meets all design requirements within H district and that the proposed design style does not reference any outside architecture. The project is consistent with all FAR requirements and setback requirements. And parking requirements are also in compliance by providing one covered space, being the one-story garage, and the one screened parking space, being the new proposed parking pad. In all, it is of staff's opinion that the project maintains and enhances the appearance of Yountville, and we recommend for approval.
Thank you. Any questions from the Board of Staff? Member Denton?
Not at this time.
Okay. Member Allen? Just a couple. Is the property already up to code with irrigation? With, I guess, drought-tolerant irrigation?
There are 2 trees in the front of the property and the one protected oak in the rear.
Yeah.
As of drought tolerant, I would say yes.
We can, I guess, if the applicant wants to, because I know any change to the.
Yeah, the app.
Oh, okay.
Is in here. I would defer to them.
Okay.
I know they are proposing hop trees.
Okay. Because I know if we do any sort of construction over a certain amount, we have to make sure it's all drought tolerant, correct?
Yes, this project wouldn't trigger the water efficient landscape ordinance standards based on its size.
Okay.
And-
That's what I was referring to.
And they are proposing some new landscaping, mostly to screen the new parking space, but not really a comprehensive re-landscaping of the entire lot.
Okay. And is it necessary to have a town arborist look if it's a protected tree? I know we had that issue with, I guess, Stewart Cellars and their protected oak. Mm-hmm. Is it necessary to have a town arborist also come in and verify the findings of their arborist?
From time to time. The arborist selected was Bill Pramick, who formerly served as the town arborist. So
Okay.
we took his report at face value.
Okay. That's everything for me. Any members of the applicant in the audience? No? Members of the audience like to speak towards this?
Indeed. Good evening, everybody. It's
Hello.
a fun experience for me to be back on this side of the room. I'm Jason Tiedemann Janes of 6913 Yount Street. If you pull up the picture that was somewhat panoramic, that's my gray house in the rear. So I would humbly submit, accepting the applicant herself, no one has more interest in this project than I do. I'm happy to note that I've met with and reviewed Ms. Doyle's plans and talked to her, and I'm delighted about this project. While I do have 2 minor concerns I'll address with you, I think what's highly a good illustration of a good project is a brief staff report. So if I may commend to your attention 3 things, that is to the board. The last sentence of page 2, the project complies with design ordinance standards. Pretty straightforward. In the middle of page 3, note 5, just above strategic plan goal. Recommends approval with attached conditions of approval. And lastly, recommendation number 4, the latter clause, approve the project with attached conditions of approval. So I can tell you as the neighbor who's clearly the most impacted person that I strongly endorse this project. I think it can be approved, and I think it should be approved. It will be a tremendous improvement to the neighborhood. I'll circle back to that so we end on a positive note. However, the 2 notes I do wish to commend to your attention. One is just a comment. If we look at condition of approval number 18, if you would perhaps bring up the site plan at the same time, I would be grateful, Mr. Sawyer. Great. Condition of approval number 18 notes that the applicant, its second sentence, shall record an access agreement for the driveway backup encroachment onto the rear parcel or remove the indication of backup area on the plans. I have no objection to that condition as written. What I'm here to convey to you is under no circumstances will I agree to an easement onto my exclusive property, as opposed to the fact that I own the bulk of the flagpole. Ms. Doyle is aware of this. However, I tell you, it's further my considered opinion with some experience that there's more than ample room to back up. So I would encourage the applicant, were she here, to simply have her architect or engineer show a turning template and the fact that there is sufficient backup room. But I will not preclude myself nor any possible successor in interest from installing a gate from the flagpole to control access to my property. So again, no objection to the condition as written, but I can assure you that there will be no granting of an additional easement. With that said, I would recommend an additional statement be added to condition of approval number 11. The on-site treatment of stormwater is vague from the current plans. The bioswale is indicated. It's unclear from these design review plans, since it's clearly not yet a fully developed set of civil plans, to where that water discharges. So I recommend that condition of approval number 11 include language something along the lines of this: and for any connection to existing private stormwater systems, hydrology calculations be provided to the satisfaction of the town engineer. There is an existing storm drain underneath all of those planners, which Ms. Doyle, because we have a reciprocal easement, has every right to connect to. I'm merely asking the town to impose a condition that if it's connected to, a competent civil engineer perform the necessary hydrology calculations to show that that small 6-inch storm drain can in fact accommodate any additional flow. She of course is free to connect to the storm drain. I actually paid for and put in. It's out in the public right of way. So that recommendation. Lastly, just because I'm exceptionally familiar with the property, in fact I lived in it for a year while I built my house, and in fact spent a lot of money on the Heritage Oak, both trimming it and mycorrhizal injections on several occasions, if you're familiar with oak trees. I'd like to commend Ms. Doyle's approval and something that the arborist report only tangentially references, and I'm sure you all are very concerned with the Heritage Oak. If we can look again at the site plan, and this is me speaking in support of the project, or rather the demolition plan. Forgive me. Thank you, Mr. Sawyer. You can see that virtually half the drip zone of the existing oak tree is covered in concrete. This is new, not new concrete. It was probably put in about 1960 when the original core house was added onto. The addition is the portion of the house that includes the fireplace. So I'm sure, as you know, oaks don't like it when the soil, their drip zone, can't aspirate in the dry season. They love wet ground in the winter, and they like to aspirate. So there's this big concrete cap over half the drip zone, and I humbly submit to you that the arborist is correct that the raised foundation and pier and grade beam, as well as the raised deck, will actually be an enhancement to the drip zone because it will enlarge the aspiration area. So with that said, again, the condition of approval, I hope you do expand upon, and as the most affected neighbor, I urge you to approve what I think is a good project. Thank you. Good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'll close the public forum and open to board discussion. Member Denton, any comments, questions?
Yeah, one of the first observations is that this is a spread footing foundation, and what's proposed is a pier and grade beam for the reasons that was just mentioned in the arborist report. It's highly unconventional to have a dissimilar foundation methods, and so I would question the thought process behind that. And I guess if the applicant were here, I'd be asking whether there's proposed expansion joints between the two, the new addition and the existing structure. I just haven't seen that in previous projects. So.
That, with the applicant not being here and with these being the conceptual, design development drawings rather than construction, that will be something that's reviewed during the building permit stage. And the plan reviewer, that will probably be something that they're concerned about as well, where we have a more non-traditional use of foundations and connections.
There's other options. I'm not suggesting any of them, but if you did stay with spread footings, there's still ability to bridge across root structures and use compressible foam to mitigate some of those. So it would be something that I would encourage the applicant to review. Another quick question would be it appears that the screen parking space here is not entirely on the back half of the property. I know that there's the attempt to get landscaping to use as a screen, but I'm not quite sure if this falls under the definition of a screen parking space. That's a question.
Yes. So, so our code requires one covered and one screened space, and over the years we've struggled with the screened space because most driveways have a traditional two-car approach, and spaces are difficult to screen. In this case, the applicant's proposing to use the existing apron and driveway and to open it once it's on the property, and in this instance utilized screening that we don't see as often, so we feel it's consistent with the code and a positive response to what the requirement is.
Do you have any idea of the height of the landscaping that's proposed? Or
Mrs. Doyle did mention that the existing tree at the front of the property would obviously remain, but that it would increase in height as you got closer to the garage.
So no, it's conceptual, and you can add conditions as to the type of landscaping that you would feel satisfies the requirement, and give more definition or specificity to it as part of a condition of approval.
One last point. I think as this project moves forward, I would actually encourage the board to give maybe a little bit more leeway on the garage. A 12-foot garage and an 8-foot door is very tight. Maybe we give some, since they're underneath of the floor area ratio, maybe some ability to, if the applicant chooses through the development of these plans to increase to 12.6 or something, just to give a little bit of extra space, because that's a tight garage.
Member Allen?
Yeah, I'm sharing the concern about this new bioswale drain, because as I remember, the lot is a little lower than the street.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously water's going to pool right between the house and the road.
Correct.
And how are you going to dispose of that water collected there during the rainy season? Is this the best solution to it?
Susan did contact our town engineer and went over
Right.
the dimensions to properly address what size bioswale will be needed.
Right.
I'm under the impression that all of that has been addressed, and it'll be up to further review within the building stage.
Okay, so the
With the
staff
approval
is,
of the town engineer, the property currently collects surface water in somewhat of a flooding state, and the drainage improvements are intended to improve that there will be some detention on site, that there may be some connection to an existing storm drain system.
Okay.
But those improvements are intended to improve upon existing conditions.
A part of that issue as well, all the downspouts are currently just dripping straight onto the front yard.
Right.
All downspouts will now be directly connected to the bioswale.
I see, okay.
So you won't have that pooling effect that you
Oh.
saw a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Would that also adequately address Mr. Jane's concern about where the water is going to be disposed? from the
With the
collection?
condition, yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, it is a lower lot from the street. There is a gap. I noticed that.
Looking at the parking issue, I think would those measurements up there that they provided, do you think that gives enough or adequate protection from the road, or you think it's still?
I don't know. In past years, it's always been an interesting definition to achieve, and some have been more strict interpretation where it's behind the residence in order to get screened. I can just think of a number of applications that we've reviewed over the years that this would be marginal, but I don't know what the current interpretation, how the board is
Yeah.
leaning current. And I also recognize that it's a unique lot. There's a flag-shaped lot behind. There's not a lot of the alternate option here would be to park in the lawn area, and that's not desirable. So
Yeah.
I recognize the constraints.
I think this is in the best case scenario, and I'd imagine the owners wouldn't like their cars to be seen from the road either. It's a win-win for everyone. And as long as the neighbors are okay with it, that works for me as well.
I guess one option would be to park a little bit further, closer to the garage, and maybe have the turnout and stuff a little bit further back on the property. But
Would that then encroach on the setback if they had to move the garage back then?
you had a great map there.
Yeah.
Oh, this one right here?
Yeah, the site plan, I
5 feet.
think, was the most useful.
Yeah.
Great.
So the question.
Yeah, so if
as
you
far as
were
encroaching.
saying bringing the turn or the little turnway back further, that would then bring the garage back a little bit further, would it not?
Keeping the garage in the same location, I'm
Okay.
just saying instead of having as lengthy of a guest parking space,
Mhm.
to have the turnout a little bit further, closer to the front corner of the residence. As it doesn't appear to impinge on the ability to turn into the garage, and the backup is on the common driveway there. Just-
I'm pretty indifferent to it,
Yeah.
honestly. I think with the shrubbery there, and again, I'm under the firm belief that no one really wants to promote their cars being
Right.
seen, but as long as they acknowledge that it's a concern and they're installing landscaping to deal with that, I'm okay. And yeah, as long as we've addressed that with the water as well, which Member Allen brought up, I'm all set. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the project as submitted with the following alterations to the conditions of approval. For item number 11, that it's subject to a formal civil plans and hydrology calculations submitted to the town engineer as suggested by Jason James. And item 18, I think we should recognize that the adjacent owner as not favorable with an easement. And I would add condition number 26, a new condition about the pier and grade beam. The town's staff during the review process is able to see whether that's the best solution to save the tree, and with the recommendations of an arborist. In other words, giving a little bit of room for interpretation there. Yeah, I think
Good.
that's all.
We get that?
Yep.
And I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Perfect.
So one condition that I didn't, I think it's important to add, that the garage, if the applicant would like to increase, say an extra 6 inches, and it's not impacting the FAR because we're well under, I think I'd propose
That's
to
fair.
add that
Yeah.
as an extra.
Okay. Yeah.
Great.
We'll share that.
Okay.
Thank you, Kim.
See you all, good night.
And thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Okay, thank you. We will move on to staff and board reports.
Great. Well, this Thursday we will be kicking off Envision Yountville.
And we're sharing with you the web page that we've created to follow this effort. The Envision Yountville series begins with approximately 5 months of 5 different speaker series at the community center. They're intended to raise engaging issues for the community so that they start talking about issues that are important and have a history here in Yountville. And get here on our webpage, the second button up top has more information on that. Speaks to the first meeting tomorrow night about what this effort is, and we will introduce the team and have a guest speaker. And as I say, it's intended just to get the community excited about what's to come. We list here the topics of the other speaker series as we move along, and so you can look at it in a little more detail. And we'll be posting news and events to this next page. We'll have articles and media releases, and it will identify upcoming events. It's intended that this will change throughout this process, that this can be a place for the community to get information. It will have each of the speaker series will be recorded, and they'll be available on the webpage. So if someone is unable to make the meeting, they can go back and hear what others were able to view, and hear the Q&A and get a better sense of what is coming. Also here in the project library, I'm sorry, this is where we'll be keeping many of these documents. And we have some background documents now, including the existing general plan from '92, the current housing and circulation elements, the town's climate action plan, and then interesting documents such as the citizen satisfaction survey results, and also county-wide documents. We have our contact information here on the last page, and so this effort is launching. We're hoping that the community comes out in full force, because a general plan update is, of course, is a public community process. It's been a long time since we did the last one, 1992, and the community has changed, and yet there are so many themes and policies in the existing general plan that really still hold true as to the small town character and the preservation of ag, and wanting to limit the impact of tourists and other commercial businesses on the residents. So we are going to start the discussion soon. So that is what we're sharing with you.
Good, yeah, I've checked out the website. It's really nice. You guys did a good job, whoever did it. You did it, Curtis?
Yeah, it looks great.
Oh, we all
Oh.
work together.
It's very nice. It's very easy to get through. So the link to the video of the meetings will be on that page, right? Not
Yes.
through the Yountville page.
Well,
And
we have a link on the town's homepage
Okay.
that'll take you to this
Okay.
webpage.
and will you be engaging people? Will they be able to send in comments, or is that reserved for meetings?
Yes, that will definitely be part of this process when we move probably more to the public workshops, but we also plan on doing at least a monthly questionnaire of changing content. And so, yes, the webpage will be one of the ways that we reach out to the public and seek comment. I'm not sure exactly when that will start. Right now, it's more a presentation of interesting ideas.
And will people have to sign up for the notifications separately for Envision Yountville, or all the people who are already kind of on?
If you're already
Town
part of
site.
eNotify,
Mhm.
this will be part of that process too.
Okay. Sounds good.
Sandra, the speakers session, would they be recorded and there's a link, people can listen to it? Okay, good, because not everybody can attend, maybe they
Right.
can listen to it.
Right.
Else? Okay,
Nope.
all right, on to the next.
So the next item on our agenda is we're looking to appoint a second member to the General Plan Ad Hoc Committee. And that committee consists of 2 members of the Town Council. It's Mayor Dunbar and Member Moeller, and 2 members of the ZDRB. And Chair Cook is the 1 member on that committee. We're looking to fill the second spot. Once we have a second interested person, we'll be looking to schedule a meeting of the ad hoc committee toward the end of this month. And the goal of that next meeting will be to establish the procedure for appointing a steering committee that will guide the real meaty part of this process. The steering committee will be developing policy, and vetting the issues and taking those recommendations to council. We're going to mention that the steering committee is coming at the meeting tomorrow, on Thursday, but we're going to wait until further into the speaker series to start accepting applications, and we'll need to have a plan in place for reviewing those applications, selecting those to interview, and that process. Other than that next meeting of the ad hoc committee, that we envision maybe 2 or 3 throughout over the course of some months. However, as the steering committee is in place, they'll take over really most of the work. The ad hoc committee is really advisory to help us in these early stages.
So the ad hoc committee members will not be on the steering committee? Those are separate?
That's correct.
Okay.
Those will be separate.
And will the ad hoc committee be responsible for selecting the members, part of the group that selects the members for the steering committee?
That is a question for the next meeting, how
Okay.
we approach that process. The council itself has usually reviewed and interviewed and appointed committee members. We don't yet know what type of positive response there will be to applications and what we're looking at, but we want to have some options in place if we have a very large turnout of interest.
And from the first steering committee that I went to, it's a very important process, but it also there weren't going to be a lot of meetings for the ad hoc committee. They were important meetings, but not, what were they talking, like 3 in
We're
a
thinking
year?
3 or 4
Yeah.
over the next year.
Yeah, so it's not overwhelming.
Right. Just one is coming up.
We don't have a date?
No.
Okay,
We'll work with whoever the 4 of you are to
okay.
establish that date.
So, who's gonna raise their hand?
There's an interest on my part.
Sold.
All in favor?
Can we make a motion?
So beyond this year, what is the outlook for how, in other words, is it going to occur all within a 12-month period, or?
Yes, we believe it will just be
Calendar
a
year.
year on the outer end because of the transitions that will be through this process. You'll help in the early stages, the steering committee will get going, then we'll be having public workshops and meetings and council meetings, and it'll all shift.
There's also a really good team in place of people, that have been hired to direct this, so.
It's the time management
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
caution.
Yeah, yeah.
The interest is there.
Okay, good.
I think you're probably the only one other than me.
I don't know. Karen sent me an email just saying how much she would love to do additional.
Okay, so I would make a motion to put Jared Denton on the General Plan Ad Hoc Committee. And a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Abstain.
Okay.
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you, Jared.
Thanks.
That will be a good addition. That's it?
I have one more item.
Okay.
And the town clerk reminds us that Form 700 is due soon, and if you haven't already submitted yours, please do so. It's important to get that in to avoid penalties or other issues.
Right, yes, that is correct. Is there a deadline?
March something.
There is a deadline. I
So
did
do it in
look
February.
back.
Yes,
Yeah.
in February.
Okay. Okay, then I will move to adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, Curtis.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good job, Mikhail.
Thank you.
I couldn't hear all the comments, but